Long ago, in the wide lands of Rus, where rivers stretched silver under the moon and forests grew deeper than the eye could follow, people lived close to the whispers of the earth. In villages of timber and in halls of stone, they gathered by the fire to tell tales that warmed the long nights. These were not stories of men alone, but of wonders, of wolves that spoke, of trees that bore golden fruit, and of birds whose light was brighter than flame. Among all those tales, one rose above the rest. It was the story of the Firebird. The Firebird was said to be a creature of living fire, its feathers glowing red, orange, and gold, each plume shining as though it had stolen a spark from the sun. In darkness, its light filled the hall brighter than 100 candles. Its song, soft and flowing, was enough to quiet the heaviest of hearts. To look upon the Firebird was to feel wonder and longing all at once. But beauty can be heavy, and gifts can also be burdens. Some called the Firebird a blessing, for it brought hope to those who saw it. Others whispered it was a curse, for many who chased its brilliance found sorrow instead of joy. It was a prize that could never be taken without cost. Before we begin the journey tonight, let me ask you something. What time are you listening to this story? Are you here at night, letting these words carry you into sleep? Or are you listening in the quiet of the day, when the world is still and you have a moment to drift away? I'd love to hear your answer in the comments. And if you enjoy these nights of folklore, don't forget to gently tap the like button and subscribe so you'll always have the next story waiting for you. Small things, but they mean the world. They let me know to keep sharing these tales. Now settle back and let us step into the world of the Firebird. Our story begins in the palace of a proud Tsar. His pride was not his crown, nor his armies, but his garden. In that garden grew trees that bore apples of pure gold. These apples were unlike any fruit of earth. They glowed in the sunlight and shimmered under the stars. To eat one was to feel health and strength flow back into the body, to feel years fall away. The people whispered that the apples were a gift from heaven itself, proof that the Tsar's rule was favored. Yet even treasures blessed by heaven are not safe forever. One night, as the moon rose high, a strange glow came down from the sky. It was not the pale light of the moon, nor the flicker of torches. It was brighter, warmer, alive. A bird descended among the branches. Its feathers blazed like fire, casting shadows across the orchard. With its beak, it plucked the golden apples one by one, their glow paling against the creature's own brilliance. Then, with wings spread wide, it took to the air and vanished into the night, leaving behind only bare branches and silence. When dawn came, the Tsar walked through his garden and saw the empty branches. His heart darkened. "Who has dared to steal from me?" he thundered. Guards were placed at once, men with bows and spears. Yet the thief was too clever. Each night, more apples vanished, and each morning, the branches bent emptier. The guards swore they saw nothing but a glow, like fire slipping away through the dark. The Tsar's anger grew like a storm. He was a ruler who could not stand to be mocked, a king who would not suffer loss. At last he summoned his sons. In a far-off kingdom, there lived a Tsar whose greatest treasure was not his throne or his armies, but his garden. In the center of the palace stood rows of apple trees, and these were no ordinary trees. Their branches bore fruit of pure gold. Each apple gleamed with a light of its own, glowing softly in the day and shimmering like fire in the night. The people whispered that the apples were a gift from heaven. They said the trees blessed the Tsar's reign, for anyone who ate even a single apple found health and youth returning to them. To the Tsar, they were a sign of power, proof that no other ruler in the world was as favored as he. But one night, under a clear sky and a bright moon, the garden was disturbed. When dawn came, the Tsar walked among his trees and froze in anger. A branch stood bare. One of his golden apples had vanished. The Tsar's rage burned hot. He placed guards around the orchard, men with sharp swords and strong bows. Yet the next night, another apple disappeared. The night after that, another was gone. And each morning, the guards swore the same thing. They saw only a glow, faint as fire, slipping through the dark, too quick to catch. The Tsar would not be mocked. His pride demanded an answer. He summoned his 3 sons to his hall. The eldest was strong and proud, a soldier dressed in polished armor. He boasted, "I will guard the orchard. No thief can escape me." The second was clever and sharp, quick with plans and quicker with words. He said, "I will outsmart the thief. I will lay traps no one can slip past." The youngest was Ivan. He was quiet, gentle, often overlooked by his brothers and even by his father. When the Tsar's eyes turned to him, Ivan bowed and said softly, "If you wish, father, I will try as well." The Tsar's voice thundered through the hall. "Bring me the thief. Bring me the one who dares to steal my glory." That night, the eldest son kept watch. He stood tall beneath the golden branches, his sword at his side. For hours he watched, but the garden was still. The stars wheeled overhead. His eyes grew heavy. At last, sleep claimed him. When the morning came, another apple was gone. The second son tried next. He set clever snares among the trees and crouched low, certain of his wit. But the hours passed, cold and endless. His head drooped, his body sagged, and before long he too had drifted into slumber. By dawn, the snares were empty, and the apples fewer. At last, it was Ivan's turn. He carried no armor, no traps. Only his bow rested in his hands. He walked quietly into the orchard and leaned against a tree. The night stretched long, but he did not falter. He thought of his father's command, of his brother's laughter at his quiet ways. He kept his eyes open and his heart steady. Near midnight, a glow rose beyond the trees. At first it was faint, like the edge of dawn. Then it grew brighter, brighter still, until the orchard itself seemed to burn. And there, perched among the golden branches, was the thief, the Firebird. Its feathers blazed red and gold, each plume brighter than the apples it plucked. Its eyes shone like jewels, sharp and knowing. It moved with grace, as though the orchard belonged to it. Ivan's breath caught. Slowly, he lifted his bow. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with awe. He loosed an arrow, and though it missed the bird, one feather fell, drifting down through the night. The Firebird gave a cry, sweet and sharp as silver bells. Then it spread its blazing wings and vanished into the sky, leaving the garden dark once more. At dawn, Ivan stood before his father, the feather in his hand. It glowed so brightly it filled the hall with golden light. The Tsar's eyes widened. "This is worth more than treasure," he said. "But a feather is not enough. I will not rest until the Firebird itself is mine. My sons, you must bring it to me." And with those words, the quest began. The feather of the Firebird glowed in the Tsar's hall, filling the chamber with golden light. Servants shielded their eyes, whispering that such a treasure was worth more than crowns or kingdoms. But the Tsar stared at it with a hungry gaze. The single plume was not enough for him. "This feather is wondrous," he said at last, his voice heavy with desire. "But I will not rest until the bird itself is mine. A feather may light my halls, but the Firebird will bring glory to my reign forever." He turned to his 3 sons. "You must ride out. Bring me the Firebird alive." The eldest, strong and proud, bowed deeply. "Father, I will capture it. With my sword, no creature can escape me." The second, clever and cunning, smiled. "I will succeed where others fail." With wit and traps, I will take the Firebird for you. Ivan, the youngest, remained quiet. His brothers looked at him with mocking grins. At last, he said softly, "If it is your wish, father, then I will try as well." At dawn, the Tsar's sons mounted their horses. They rode out together through the palace gates, their armor gleaming in the sun. But it was not long before pride drove them apart. The eldest, impatient, spurred his horse ahead. The second, eager to prove his cleverness, rode quickly after. Soon Ivan was left alone on the road, guiding his horse gently as the land stretched before him. The path led into a deep forest. The trees closed overhead, their branches blotting out the light. The air grew heavy, the silence broken only by the sound of Ivan's horse. Then, without warning, a great gray wolf leapt onto the path. Its eyes glowed like coals, and its teeth shone in the dark. Ivan's horse reared in fear. Ivan reached for his bow, but before he could draw it, the wolf spoke. "Prince Ivan," it said, its voice deep and rough, "I know what you seek. You chased the Firebird, thief of your father's golden apples." Ivan froze in shock. A beast that spoke? Yet he steadied his voice. "If you know, then tell me where to find it." The wolf lowered its head. "The Firebird is no prize for the careless. Many who chase it meet only ruin. But you showed mercy once, and for that I will guide you." Ivan frowned. "Mercy? I have never met you before." The wolf's eyes gleamed. "Perhaps not with your hand, but with your heart. You are not like your brothers. You are gentle, and for that I will help you. But heed my words. When you find the Firebird, take the bird alone. Do not touch its golden cage, no matter how it shines. If you do, trouble will follow." Ivan nodded slowly. Though doubt stirred in him, something in the wolf's voice rang true. "Then I will trust you," Ivan said. The wolf bared its teeth, almost in a smile. "Good. Then climb on my back. Leave your horse. I run swifter than the wind, and I will carry you to the Firebird's keep." Ivan slid from his saddle and stepped onto the wolf's broad back. With a bound, the beast leapt forward, faster than any horse could run. The forest flew past in a blur of trees and shadows. Rivers gleamed silver beneath them as they crossed with a single bound. Hills rolled away behind them like waves. Ivan clung to the wolf's thick fur, his heart pounding with both fear and awe. At last, they reached a grand castle, its towers shining in the sunlight. The wolf slowed and lowered Ivan to the ground. "Here the Firebird is kept," the wolf said. "Remember my warning, take the bird, but not the cage." Ivan crept through the gates, silent as a shadow. In the garden beyond, he saw it, the Firebird, perched in a cage of gold. Its feathers glowed brighter than the sun, each plume burning with light. Its eyes met his, sharp and knowing, as if it had been waiting. Ivan's breath caught. He opened the cage door with trembling hands. The Firebird gave a soft cry, tilting its head, and stepped into his arms. Warmth spread through him, as though he held a living flame. But then his gaze fell upon the cage. It gleamed with jewels, each surface carved and shining like the dawn. His heart whispered, "What is a treasure without its throne? How can I bring home the bird without the glory of its cage?" Against the wolf's warning, Ivan reached out and lifted the cage. The moment he touched it, bells rang loud across the castle. Guards shouted, horns blared, and the ground trembled beneath rushing feet. Ivan's heart sank. He had been caught. The golden cage gleamed in Ivan's hands, heavy with jewels, brighter than any treasure he had ever seen. For a moment, he forgot the wolf's warning. For a moment, he thought of his father's throne room filled with the light of both the Firebird and its cage. But the moment passed, replaced by the harsh sound of clanging bells. Guards poured into the garden, their armor flashing, their voices sharp with alarm. Ivan clutched the Firebird to his chest, his heart pounding. "Seize him!" shouted the captain of the guard. "He dares to steal the Tsar's treasure!" Ivan turned to run, but the guards surrounded him. Spears lowered, swords raised, their circle tightening with each step. He wanted to cry out, to explain, but his voice caught in his throat. The Firebird stirred in his arms, its feathers burning against him like living flame. Its eyes gleamed as if it knew more than he did, as if it had seen this moment before. The guard seized Ivan, pulling the golden cage from his hands. They bound his wrists in iron and dragged him through the castle halls. The Firebird, glowing still, was locked back into its prison. Before long, Ivan was thrown before the ruler of that land, a great Tsar whose face was hard as stone, his eyes sharp with suspicion. He sat upon a throne of ivory, his crown glittering, and in his voice there was no warmth. "So," the Tsar said coldly, "a thief has come to steal the Firebird from my care. Who are you, boy, to think you can take what is not yours?" Ivan fell to his knees, his chains rattling. "I am Prince Ivan, son of Tsar Vyslav of the Far Kingdom. My father's orchard has been robbed of its golden apples, and I followed the thief to this place. I swear by my name, I meant no insult. I sought only to bring back what was stolen." The Tsar's gaze did not soften. "And yet you touched the cage against all right. You would take not only the bird, but the glory of its prison. For such greed you deserve death." The hall fell silent. Ivan's heart sank. Was this to be the end of his quest before it had even begun? But the Tsar raised his hand and spoke again. "Still, you are the son of a ruler. Blood such as yours should not be spilled like a common thief. Instead, I will give you a chance. A trial. Complete it, and the Firebird may yet be yours." Hope flickered in Ivan's chest. "What trial must I face?" The Tsar leaned forward, his crown gleaming. "Far from here lies the kingdom of Tsar Afrin. In his halls lives a horse whose mane shines brighter than gold, whose hooves strike sparks like fire. Bring me this horse, and I will give you the Firebird." Ivan's breath caught. Another quest. Another task beyond his reach. But he bowed low and said, "If that is your will, then I will try." The Tsar waved his hand. Guards hauled Ivan away and cast him beyond the castle gates. His wrists were freed, but his heart was heavy. Alone, without his prize, he walked into the forest once more. Then a shadow moved between the trees, and the gray wolf appeared. Its eyes burned, and its growl was low. "I warned you," the wolf said. "Did I not tell you to take the bird and leave the cage? But you did not listen. And now your path is harder." Ivan bowed his head. "You are right. I was foolish. I thought only of my father's pride. Forgive me, and if you still will, guide me." For a long moment, the wolf stared. Then it sighed, its breath heavy as the wind. "You are humble in your mistake. That is rare. I will help you still. But listen well, when you reach the horse, take only the creature, not its golden bridle. If you touch the bridle, you will fall into trouble again." Ivan nodded. "I will remember this time." The wolf crouched low. "Then climb on. We have far to travel." Ivan mounted the wolf's back once more, and with a bound, they sped off into the night, faster than the wind, carrying him toward his next trial. The gray wolf ran like the wind. Forests rose and fell behind them. Rivers flashed silver and were gone. Hills rolled past like waves. Ivan held tight to the wolf's thick fur and said little. His mistake with the golden cage weighed on him like a stone. At last, near dawn, the wolf slowed. Before them stood high walls and bright towers. Banners snapped in the breeze. This was the realm of Zarafran, keeper of the wondrous horse. The wolf lowered Ivan to the ground. "Listen well," it said. "The horse with the golden mane is kept in a stone stable near the inner court. Guards come and go, but they grow sleepy before dawn. You can lead the horse away, if you remember my warning." Ivan repeated the lesson. "Take the horse, but do not touch the bridle." The wolf's eyes glowed. "Yes. The bridle is set with gold and gems. It is made to tempt. If you take it, bells will ring, men will run, and your trouble will grow." The wolf's gaze softened. "I will wait outside the wall." Ivan slipped toward the inner court. He moved in shadow where the torches burned low. He passed sleeping guards, their spears leaning against the stone. He came to the stable door and pressed his ear to the wood. From within, he heard a soft breath and the scrape of a hoof. He lifted the latch. Moonlight poured in and lit the most beautiful horse he had ever seen. Its coat shone like the first light of morning. Its mane fell in bright waves, each hair catching the light like gold thread. The horse turned its bright eyes toward Ivan, and for a moment he forgot to breathe. "Easy," he whispered, stroking its neck. The horse did not shy away. It lowered its head, as if it already knew him. Ivan found a plain rope on a peg and looped it gently. He could lead the horse with this and be gone before anyone woke. He knew this. He told himself this. But then he saw the bridle. It hung near the door, set with rubies and emeralds. The leather was stitched with gold. Even in the dim light, it gleamed. And in Ivan's mind a thought rose like a whisper. What would father say if I returned with only a rope? What is a king's gift without its proper finery? He reached out. His fingers brushed the jewels. The stable exploded with sound. Bells crashed from the roof. Iron clanged. Torches flared to life. Voices shouted. Boots pounded the stone. Ivan jumped back, heart racing, but it was too late. Soldiers poured through the door, spears leveled. "Thief!" cried the captain. "Seize him!" Ivan raised his hands. "Wait! I am Prince Ivan." They didn't listen. Rough hands grabbed his arms. The rope fell from his fingers. The horse stamped, wild-eyed, and the golden mane flashed like fire. Ivan was dragged into the inner court, past a row of tall columns and up to a wide throne. Zarafran sat there, wrapped in a heavy robe, his eyes cold and clear. "So," said the Tsar, "a thief who bows like a prince." Ivan knelt, breath shaking. "I am no common thief," he said. "I am Prince Ivan, son of Tsar Vaislav. My father's orchard was robbed by the Firebird. Another Tsar promised me that if I brought your horse, he would give me the bird. I sought only to lead the horse away. The bridle," he swallowed. "The bridle tempted me. I have done wrong." Zarafran's mouth tightened. "Wrong indeed. You entered my stable at night and reached for what is not yours. For this, I could have your head." He paused, studying Ivan's face. "But I do not see a liar. I see a fool with a soft heart." The hall murmured. The captain of guards lowered his spear. The Tsar raised one finger. "Hear my judgment. I will not kill you. Instead, you will earn your life and the horse both. Bring me Elena the Fair, a maiden whose beauty outshines dawn. She dwells in a far court by the sea. If you bring her to me, I will give you the horse with the golden mane, and you may go in peace." Ivan's shoulders sagged. Another task. Another chain on top of the first. But he bowed his head. If that is your will, I will try. Take him outside the gate, Tsar Afrin said. Let the road judge him next. They cut Ivan's bonds and pushed him past the pillars and down the steps. The heavy doors boomed shut behind him. For a moment he stood alone under the paling stars. The shame of failure burned in his chest. A shape slid from the shadows. The gray wolf. I warned you, the wolf said, not unkindly. I know, Ivan whispered. I failed again. I reached for the bright thing and brought trouble down. Now I must bring Elena the Fair to Tsar Afrin, or lose all hope. The wolf's eyes, bright and steady, held his. You speak truth. You learn, even if the learning is hard. I will help you once more. Ivan blinked. Even after I ignored you twice? Even then, said the wolf. Climb on. We ride to the sea, where Elena the Fair dwells. Listen closely now. When you reach her halls, take the maiden, but do not reach for her casket of jewels or her crown. Your hands must be light, or alarms will wake the world again. I will remember, Ivan said, more to himself than to the wolf. Good, the wolf replied. Hold fast. Ivan climbed onto the wolf's back. With a bound, they left the bright towers behind. The road unrolled beneath them. Pines thinned to low hills. Low hills gave way to wind and shore. Somewhere ahead, the sea breathed in the dark, and a new trial waited with the first light of morning. The gray wolf sped over hill and plain until the earth gave way to the sea. The salt wind stung Ivan's face, and the sound of waves beat like drums against the shore. Ahead, on a cliff that rose above the waters, stood a palace of white stone. Its windows flashed with light, and its towers reached into the sky. There, said the wolf, pausing at the edge of the forest. Elena the Fair dwells within those walls. Ivan slid down from the wolf's back, staring at the palace with wide eyes. He had heard stories of Elena the Fair, of her beauty that shone brighter than dawn itself. Yet he had never believed such tales could be true. The wolf's gaze was stern. Remember this, you must bring the maiden alone. Do not touch her crown, nor her jeweled casket. These things are snares laid to tempt you. If you reach for them, alarms will sound, and your path will grow harder. Ivan bowed his head. I will obey this time. I have learned my lesson. The wolf's eyes softened. Good. Then climb on my back, and I will carry you to the palace gates. Once more they sped across the land, faster than wind, until the white palace loomed before them. The wolf stopped beneath the shadow of the gate and crouched low. Go now. I will wait in the forest. Be quick and quiet. Ivan nodded and stepped into the palace gardens. They were filled with roses, lilies, and flowers he had never seen, glowing faintly in the moonlight. The paths gleamed with white stone, and fountains sang in the silence. At the far end of the garden, beneath a canopy of silk, sat Elena the Fair. Ivan stopped in his tracks. Her hair fell in golden waves. Her face was calm and bright, her eyes clear as the sea. She wore no jewels, and yet she shone brighter than any crown. Her beauty was not only in her face, but in her stillness, as if she carried the peace of dawn within her. For a long moment, Ivan could not move. He felt his heart beat hard in his chest, and he thought, how can I bring her as a prize for another? But he remembered the wolf's words. He remembered the Tsar's command. Slowly, he stepped forward. Elena the Fair, he said softly, bowing low. I am Prince Ivan, son of Tsar Vyacheslav. I have come to take you to Tsar Afrin. Elena raised her eyes to his. And if I refuse? Ivan faltered. Then I have failed. Yet if you come, you will save my life. She studied him for a long moment. Then she rose, her silken robe trailing across the stone. "You are honest," she said at last. "That is rare. I will go with you." Part 2. Ivan's heart leapt with gratitude. He offered his hand, and she placed hers gently in his. Together they walked through the garden, her steps as light as wind across water. As they neared the gate, Elena's gaze shifted. On a marble stand beside the path lay a crown, its gold wrought into the shape of flames, its jewels brighter than stars. Next to it rested a casket carved of ivory, filled with gems that glowed like fireflies. "Surely you will take these as well?" she asked. "A maiden should not leave without her crown or her treasure." Ivan froze. The jewels gleamed. The crown shone. His hand twitched. But then he saw again the wolf's glowing eyes, the warning voice, "Do not touch the crown. Do not touch the casket." "No," Ivan said firmly. "You are enough. More than enough. Come, we must go." A faint smile touched Elena's lips. Wise at last. They stepped beyond the gates. The wolf waited, his eyes glowing in the dark. When he saw Elena, his teeth flashed in something like a grin. "You chose well," he said. "Climb on, both of you. The road is long, and dawn comes quickly." Ivan helped Elena onto the wolf's back, then climbed behind. With a bound, the wolf carried them away from the palace, swift as wind, silent as shadow. The forest and shore fell away behind them. The palace of Elena the Fair vanished into the distance. Ahead lay the long road back to Zarathustra, and the trial that waited there. But as Ivan held Elena close, he felt the weight of his quest shift. No longer was it only about the Firebird, or the golden horse, or the pride of his father. Something new stirred in his heart, and though he did not yet name it, he knew it would change his path forever. The gray wolf bounded across the plains, carrying Ivan and Elena swift as a storm wind. Yet as the towers of Zarathustra's court rose in the distance, Ivan's heart grew heavy. His promise to the Tsar weighed on him like a stone. He had sworn to bring Elena, and only by doing so could he hope to win the horse with the golden mane, and with it, a chance at the Firebird. But when Ivan looked at Elena riding beside him, her hair streaming like gold in the wind, he felt his resolve weaken. She was not a jewel to be handed over. She had chosen to come with him. To betray that trust felt darker than any chain. The wolf slowed and stopped in the shadow of the forest near the castle. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "We are near," it said. "But you must be ready. Zarathustra's greed is as sharp as a blade. He will demand Elena. If you yield her, you will keep the bargain, but lose your heart. If you refuse, he may strip you of all and call for your death." Ivan's hands tightened on the wolf's fur. "Then what should I do?" The wolf's gaze did not waver. "That is not for me to answer. You must choose. The road has taught you much, that pride leads to folly, that greed leads to chains. What remains is to learn where true strength lies." Ivan lowered his head. The thought of facing Afrin filled him with dread, yet he knew the wolf spoke truth. The gates of the palace swung open. Trumpets sounded, and Ivan was led into the great hall, Elena at his side. Torches burned along the pillars, casting long shadows across the stone. Zarathustra sat upon his throne, his robe glittering with gold, his crown heavy with jewels. When his eyes fell upon Elena, his face lit like fire. He rose swiftly, his voice rich with triumph. "So, Prince Ivan, you have done as I commanded. You have brought me Elena the Fair." Ivan bowed low, his heart sinking. "Yes, my lord." Afrin stepped down from the throne, his hand outstretched. "You have done well. The horse with the golden mane is yours, as I promised. But the maiden stays here. Her beauty is fit for no one else. She belongs in my halls, by my side, forever. Elena's hand gripped Ivan's tightly. Her eyes sought his, calm but questioning. Will you give me away? Will you let them take me? Ivan's chest tightened. All the treasures he sought, the Firebird, the golden horse, the pride of his father, waited in Afrin's bargain. Yet to hand Elena over felt like a wound no prize could heal. He raised his head, his voice steady though his heart trembled. Great Tsar, I cannot give her to you. Elena is not a jewel to be traded. She is no coin for your throne. She chose to follow me, and I will not betray her trust. The hall fell silent. Afrin's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Do you defy me? After I spared your life, after I gave you a chance to win glory, you stand here and deny me what I asked? The guards stirred, their spears lowering. The air grew tense. Yes, Ivan said, his voice ringing clear. I defy you. My quest began for my father, but it has changed. I have learned that treasures are empty if won by deceit or greed. Elena is not yours to claim. Elena's eyes softened, and a faint smile touched her lips. Afrin's face darkened with rage. Then you shall have nothing. No horse. No bird. Not even your life. He lifted his hand to give the order, but a sudden howl shook the hall. The gray wolf sprang from the shadows, its eyes blazing. With a roar, it leapt among the guards. Spears clattered, men cried out, and the wolf's fury scattered them like dry leaves in a storm. Afrin stumbled back in shock. Ivan seized Elena's hand. Come! Together they ran from the hall. The wolf cleared the way, its teeth flashing, its growl rolling like thunder. Arrows flew, but none struck true. The great doors burst open, and the three fled into the night. They did not stop until the palace was far behind and the forest swallowed the road. At last, beneath the dark trees, they paused to breathe. Ivan turned to the wolf, shame and worry on his face. I have nothing now. No bird, no horse, no prize for my father. Only broken promises. The wolf's gaze softened. Do not be so quick to despair. You chose rightly. You passed this trial, not by winning riches, but by keeping trust. That is worth more than the jewels of any czar. Ivan bowed his head. Then what remains for me? The wolf's eyes gleamed. The path is not ended. What you seek is still ahead. But know this, Ivan, the greatest treasures are never taken, they are given. And soon you will see what that means. Ivan mounted the wolf once more, Elena beside him. Together they rode into the dawn, the final trial waiting on the horizon. The wolf ran until the road turned to dust and the hills to low shadows. Dawn was only a pale idea on the rim of the world when he slowed and spoke. Ivan, the wolf said, we can still win what you seek. Not by force. By care. His eyes shone. I can change my shape. Let me become Elena the Fair and walk into Tsar Afrin's hall. He will give me the horse with the golden mane at once. When we leave the gate, I will leap away and find you. Elena will stay safe here with you. Elena held Ivan's hand. Do you trust him? She asked. I do, Ivan said, and his voice did not shake. Then wait in the birches, the wolf said. Keep out of sight. Before their eyes the wolf bent, rippled like heat, and changed. In a breath, Elena stood there again, two Elenas, one with the calm eyes Ivan knew, one made by magic with the wolf's bright gaze hiding inside. The wolf Elena walked into the sunrise toward Afrin's palace. Hours later, the gates opened, horns sang, and soldiers led out the horse with the golden mane, bright as morning. The false Elena mounted. The real Elena and Ivan watched from the trees. At the first bend in the road, the rider sprang from the saddle, turned in the air, and became the gray wolf again. He whistled, and the golden horse trotted after him as if they had always been friends. The three met in the birches. Ivan laughed for the first time in days, and Elena's eyes shone. "Now," the wolf said, "one more trick. We must win the Firebird itself." They traveled to the first Tsar, the one who had caged the bird and set Ivan on the horse's quest. The wolf spoke as they walked beneath the castle walls. "This time I will become the horse. Lead me to the gate. Offer me as a gift. When they bring out the Firebird to trade, throw my rope free, leap onto the true golden horse, take Elena's hand, and run. I will change back and follow." Ivan did as told. Before the guards, the rope held the finest horse the world had seen. Mouths fell open. Words sped inside. The Tsar himself came to the yard, eyes bright with greed. "A fair exchange," he said. "Your horse for my Firebird." The cage was brought, blazing with light. At that instant, Ivan jerked the rope loose. The gray horse rippled into the wolf and bounded clear. Ivan swung onto the real golden horse, drew Elena up behind him, and they flew through the gate before any spear could lower. Shouts rang out. Arrows hissed. None found them. The wolf ran beside the horse, and the Firebird's cage, resting across the saddle, lit the road like day. When they reached the forest's edge, the wolf snapped the latch with his teeth, and the Firebird stepped free. It perched on the golden mane and sang a note like silver water. "Now," said the wolf, breathing hard but pleased, "we go home." The road back to Ivan's father wound through bright fields and dark woods. By evening, they stopped at a quiet stream. The Firebird sat in a willow, the horse grazed on sweet grass, and Elena rested with her head on Ivan's shoulder. The wolf kept watch. "I have learned," Ivan said softly, "not to reach for every shining thing, not to trade trust for prizes." Elena's answer was only a smile. The stream talked to the stones. Night fell. Before dawn, hoofbeats shook the ground. Two riders came out of the trees, Ivan's brothers. They had hunted the road, jealous and angry. They saw the golden horse, the Firebird, and Elena. Their faces hardened like iron. "Well, little brother," said the eldest, "you have gathered fine gifts for us." Ivan stood. "These are for father," he said. "Come with us. We'll return together." The second brother smiled without warmth. "No. We will return with them. You will return with nothing." They drew their swords. The wolf leapt between them, but spears flashed from the dark. Soldiers the brothers had hired hid in the brush. The wolf staggered, cut and bleeding. "Run!" he barked to Ivan, but there was no time. The eldest struck. Ivan fell. The world went silent. Elena cried out and reached for him, but the brothers tore her away. They seized the Firebird's cage and the golden horse's reins. With a shout to their men, they rode toward the Tsar's city, the treasures blazing before them. The willow bent in the wind, and the stream went on talking to the stones. The wolf crawled to Ivan's side and laid his head against the prince's still hand. "Not yet," he whispered. "You are not finished. I will not let this be your end." He raised his muzzle, caught a scent only old tales remember, and ran toward the mountains, fast as pain, fast as prayer. The wolf climbed until the air grew thin and cold. At last he reached a ledge where two springs burst from the rock. One ran dark as night, one ran bright as dawn. "Waters of death and waters of life," the wolf said, remembering words older than kings. He filled 2 leaves, one black, one green, and raced back down the mountain trail. At the stream, the willows still bent in the wind. Ivan lay quiet in the grass. The wolf set the black leaf to the wound. The blood slowed and sealed, the flesh closed. Then he set the green leaf to Ivan's lips. "Wait, Prince," the wolf whispered. "Your road is not over." Ivan stirred. Breath returned to his chest. He opened his eyes. "I dreamed of falling," he said, "and of someone calling me." "It was no dream," said the wolf. "Your brothers took Elena, the horse, and the Firebird. They ride to your father's court to claim your work as theirs." Ivan sat up, grief and anger passing over his face like clouds. "We must go." They ran through the day. Near sunset, the towers of Ivan's home rose ahead. Trumpets sounded. The court gathered in the great yard. The 2 brothers stood near the throne, proud and smiling. The Firebird's cage hung high, pouring gold over the crowd. The golden horse pawed at the stones. Elena stood straight and calm, but her eyes searched the gate again and again, as if waiting for someone. A herald cried, "Behold the heroes who bring the Firebird, the golden horse, and Elena the fair!" The Tsar's face shone with joy and pride. "My sons," he called, "you have done what I asked?" At that moment, the doors swung wide. Ivan stepped into the yard with the gray wolf at his side. A hush fell over the court. Elena's hands flew to her mouth, and her eyes filled with light. The eldest brother's smile cracked. The second turned pale. Ivan bowed to his father. His voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner. "Father," I returned. "I failed and learned. I reached for bright cages and paid for it. But I kept faith. With the wolf's help, I won the horse by cunning, freed the Firebird, and brought Elena by her own choice. On the road home, I was struck down by those who stand beside you now. They took my work and called it theirs." The Tsar's joy turned to storm. He looked from Ivan to the brothers, saw the blood on the wolf's fur, and the truth in Elena's eyes. Elena stepped forward. "Great Tsar," she said, her voice steady, "Ivan speaks true. He would not trade me for a prize. He chose trust over glory. Your other sons chose glory over truth." Murmurs rolled through the crowd. The gray wolf lifted his head, and even the horse stilled to listen. The Firebird, free now from its cage, flew down and perched on the willow branch that hung over the yard. It sang a single note, bright and clear. The note hung in the air like a bell, as if the world itself agreed. The Tsar rose slowly. "Ivan," he said, "I judged you too quickly in my heart. I cared more for treasures than for truth. Today I see the measure of a son." He turned to the elder brothers. "You have shamed your house. Your pride and lies have no place here." Their swords were taken. Their names were stripped of honor. The Tsar sent them away from the court to live with the harm they had chosen. Then he faced Ivan, Elena, the wolf, and the shining bird. "Let there be feasting," he said, "not for trophies and cages, but for the courage that keeps trust. Elena the fair, if your heart allows, will you stay?" Elena looked at Ivan. "I will," she said simply. The Firebird flew to the garden and made its nest in the apple trees. No cage. No chains. Its light touched the leaves, and the branches bent rich with fruit. The golden horse ran the courtyard at dawn and returned without a bridle. The gray wolf lay by the kitchen door and was fed like a favored guest, though some swore he slipped away to the forests whenever the moon was full. As for Ivan, he rose at sunrise and worked until sunset, and there was a quiet joy in his days. He never again reached for what only glittered. He reached for what was true. The willow in the yard kept bending to the wind. The stream kept talking to the stones. And on still nights, when the lamps burned low and the halls were quiet, the Firebird sang, and all who listened felt their hearts grow light. In the days that followed, calm returned to the land. The orchards, once plundered and bare, grew heavy again with golden apples. The Firebird, no longer confined to a jeweled cage, perched in the branches. At night its feathers glowed softly, painting the garden in light gentler than moonshine. At dawn it sang. Its song was unlike any other sound in the world. It was not just music, it was a kind of healing. The notes drifted across the villages, through palace halls, into the hearts of children and elders alike. Quarrels eased. Wounds seemed lighter. Those who heard the song felt hope, as if the darkness of winter were already giving way to spring. The horse with the golden mane ran the fields in freedom, mane flashing like sunlight. Its hooves struck sparks, but it never harmed the earth. Each evening it returned to Ivan, loyal as a friend, proud but gentle. Elena the Fair moved among the people without crown or throne. She listened to farmers, spoke kindly to servants, and advised rulers with steady words. She wore no jewels, but her presence was richer than treasure. To many, she was a greater blessing than the Firebird or the horse, for her wisdom was constant, and her kindness never dimmed. And Ivan, once the quiet youngest son, was no longer overlooked. He was honored not for wealth or conquest, but for his heart. He had stumbled, yes, he had reached for cages and bridles, faltered more than once. But he had learned. And learning, he had grown strong. The Tsar, his father, saw this. At last he understood that leadership was not proven by treasures, but by truth. In time, he laid his crown upon Ivan's head. Not for golden apples, not for the Firebird's light, not for a horse's shining mane, but because Ivan had shown the courage to keep trust when it was hardest. The gray wolf was seen less often in those days. Some said it kept to the forests, still watching. Some swore it prowled the palace gates at night, and was fed like a knight. But all remembered the beast with awe. For without its guidance, Ivan's tale would have ended in sorrow. Thus the story closed not with greed, not with betrayal, but with freedom. The Firebird sang in the open, the horse ran unbridled, and Elena walked freely by Ivan's side. The tale of the Firebird is more than a story of quests and trials. It is a mirror. It asks us to see the bright cages we reach for in our own lives. We are tempted by treasures that glitter, by promises that seem easier than truth. And like Ivan, we often falter. But this story reminds us that falling is not the end. What matters is what we learn after we stumble. Ivan's strength was not that he never erred, but that he grew wiser each time he did. His gentleness, mocked at first, became his greatest shield. His loyalty, to Elena, to his promise, to the wolf, became the light that carried him home. The Firebird itself is not only a bird of flame, but a symbol. It shines, but it cannot be owned without cost. It teaches that wonder is meant to be shared, not trapped. True light does not belong in cages. The golden horse is speed and strength, but only when free. Its mane burned brightest not when tied, but when it ran across the open fields. And the wolf, fierce and loyal, is the reminder that wisdom often comes in wild shapes. Guidance may not look gentle, but it guards us if we will listen. Together, these lessons weave into one truth: the greatest treasures are trust, loyalty, and courage of heart. They cannot be stolen. They can only be lived. And so, listener, the story of the Firebird comes to an end. I wonder, what did you hear in this tale tonight? Was it the danger of chasing treasures that glitter but do not last? Was it the quiet power of choosing trust over pride? Or was it the hope that even when we fall, we can rise again, wiser than before? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I love to see where this story touches different hearts. If you found calm in this night of folklore, please take a moment to gently tap the like button. It may seem small, but it tells me to keep sharing, and it helps others discover these tales as well. And if you'd like to join me for the next journey, another legend told under quiet skies, subscribe so that the next story will be waiting whenever you need it. Until then, may your evening be peaceful, may your rest be deep, and may your dreams be carried on the song of the Firebird. Good night. Crescent moon sparkles.